Chris just blows him out of the water. It's insane. What is up, YouTube? Today, I thought it'd be cool to compare two really famous bodybuilders from two different eras, Chris Bumstead and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the reason I wanted to compare them is not necessarily because like they have similar physiques, but instead because they have similar personalities. They're very personable. A lot of people like them. They transcend bodybuilding. So that's why I wanted to compare them. And I thought it'd be interesting to see like a real classic physique in Arnold, like he's from the classic era, versus the classic physique of Chris Bumstead in the category of classic physique. So I'm going to go through the 8 mandatory poses. I tried to get a picture from the 2021 Mr. Olympia and the 1975 Mr. Olympia, which it was shot in pumping iron. But I couldn't get all the pictures of that, so some of them are just going to be pictures of the mandatory pose from a different time period. So it's not going to be a really good comparison, but I still think it's going to be interesting. So for the first pose, we see the front lat spread. And this is one of Chris Bumstead's best poses, in my opinion. And you just see the freaking lats flaring out. The waist is nice and tight in here. He's kind of doing a mini vacuum while he's taking the waist in. Everything is proportional. It looks great. And then Arnold's, it's not as good, to be honest, in my opinion. It kind of looks like he's I don't know. Like, it just doesn't look right compared to Chris Bumstead's. Chris Bumstead looks more natural. His looks more forced. And the chest is, like, too squeezed. He's too, like, upright. I don't know. I think for the front lat spread, I would give it to Chris Bumstead. And it's not necessarily because he's better at it. I just think that this is a poor picture, and if I had a better picture, maybe it'd be a better comparison. So for the second pose, the front double bicep, we can see Chris Bumstead. This is another one of his good poses, but you see the difference in the bicep. Arnold had the genetics for the bicep peak, so his biceps are much bigger when he does this pose than Chris. You can see that Chris's biceps are kind of like flat on his arm, whereas freaking Arnold's are just popping the fuck out, right? This is a kind of weird angle for the front double bicep that Arnold is doing it at. So it's kind of another hard comparison, but it's also hard to find pictures, right? It's hard to find pictures of the old Olympias. But either way, this is a hard one, right? Chris is doing a good job of like showing his entire body. You see his freaking quads are flaring. His arms are freaking amazing. Everything is proportional. Everything looks good. He's showing off his entire body. But Arnold, he's really just showing off his biceps. A little bit of the he's doing a little bit of the abdominal twist. He looks good, but man, again, I don't want to say it hurts me. Like, it kind of doesn't hurt me, but like Chris Bumstead is like blowing him out in this category. Again, they're very different pictures. He's doing a side twist double bicep. He's doing a completely front facing double bicep. But I feel like even if Arnold was doing the same pose as Chris would blow him out of the water, right? It's just crazy. So in the third pose, the side chest, we see, man. Well, again, this is not a complete side chest, right? It's a weird position. It kind of looks like he's more squeezing his chest together, whereas Chris is doing the proper side chest. But either way, man, just look at this. I will say one thing. Chris is like, I can't even say anything. I can't say anything that would make Chris Bumstead lose to Arnold with this one. Like, side to side, regardless of the position, Chris just blows him out of the water. It's insane. Like, completely insane. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. I mean, just look at this. I will say Arnold's chest is obviously bigger than Chris's, but still, like, it doesn't matter. Now for the back lat spread, the man, this is not from the 1975 Mr. Olympia. This is obviously, it says it from the 71, which I guess when you compare, like, you see this, but this is his most recent 2021 physique. So this was him 4 years before the pumping iron Mr. Olympia. I'm not gonna lie, in terms of thickness, his back in this picture at least looks a bit thicker than Chris Bumstead's. Chris Bumstead's looks bigger, but not as thick. He doesn't have the thickness of Arnold's, and it's even more impressive that this is 4 years before that 1975 Pumping Iron documentary. So for this one, I think it's a tie personally, just because of the amount of time that Chris had for this shot and how early this shot was on Arnold. So I'm going to give this one as a tie. Now for the rear double bicep, this is another bad picture, but I don't think it's that bad. I'm going to be honest here. I think it's a tie, right? Because they're two different poses. He's doing a completely back facing. Arnold's doing more of a twist, and then you have like the bicep peak is much better on Arnold, much more pronounced, and the bicep peak obviously is not as pronounced on Chris because the genetics are not for that. His back is much better than Arnold's, so I feel like it is a tie. It's a very, in my opinion, it's a tie. At least, if you think that it's not a tie, please leave your comments down below. I'd like to see what you have to say about it, but that's just my opinion on the matter. Now for the side tricep, I couldn't really find a good picture for Chris Bumstead on this one, or Arnold for the 1975 Mr. Olympia. But this is not from the 2021 Mr. Olympia. I don't recall which one it was, but it's not a good picture. This one is, I have to give to Arnold, because just look at that freaking horseshoe. It's insane, freaking great, big ass bicep, and this is even when he's younger, so it's even more impressive, to be honest. But I'm sure if I saw another picture of like a better picture of Chris Bumstead's, I might give it to him. I mean, that's just how insane he is. He blows Arnold out of the water in a lot of poses, and it's crazy. It's crazy, and he doesn't look like an open bodybuilder. He still looks classic, but he's so like proportional in his, like, it's crazy. Like, he has so much muscle, right? He could almost be open, but the proportions make it so that he's classic. It's insane. It's just crazy. Now for the seventh pose, the abdominal and thigh. This is, again, it's really hard to find similar pictures, right? But I kind of like Arnold's pose on this more because it just seems more natural. It seems like Chris is kind of forcing it a little more. It doesn't look as natural on stage. And again, though, it's completely different poses. So I'm not going to give a winner on this one. I think that it depends on which pose you feel to be more aesthetic. And I don't really have a choice on this one. I think that both are aesthetic. I think both are good poses. And I think that there's no winner on this one. And that's it. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? You look at Chris Bumstead, and he looks very classic, but then you compare him to the classic era, and he completely blows him out of the water in terms of muscle, in terms of muscularity, in terms of shreds, in terms of all that. So, and what's crazy about that too? Chris still has 10 more pounds to grow into his classic physique category.